Greetings, beautiful humans. So welcome to the third theme of Embodied Proximity. Just a series rooted in inviting, bringing intention into a 1 to 3 mile radius, or a 15 to 45 minute walking wheelchair radius from where we live, work, play, live, exist. The intention is for just all of humanity, wherever this meets you, to be filtering all the gifts and the benefits and the beauty, but also the obstacles, the barriers, the hardships, when it comes to just going into relationship with what's right outside our various front doors, walls, common places. Each of these themes center those in our midst who have no choice, or whose primary form of transportation is by foot or by wheelchair or powered stroller. And so just however this meets you, just that we center and filter and embody and absorb that lived reality. So this is being filmed in the middle of the coronavirus epidemic, pandemic, as that unfolds, hence the scarf slash at least near-term, current-term mask that I'm using when passing or crossing different people, and all the complexity that has invited and brought into our time. And so this theme is local foods and foraging. And so you'll notice 2 video links below. I invited two of my friends, Montague Connolly and Leslie Gilbert, who are both just magical beings who have so much more. I don't even want to say more, but just deeper rooted, I guess more is appropriate too, but deeper and rooted skill, wisdom, invitation related to these invitations, and specifically foraging. And so I highly encourage you to watch and invite both of their invitations, and consider investing a couple $100s or more into their capacity to specifically guide you, your family, your kids, your peers, colleagues, to connect to what grows, what can be grown right outside your various common spaces and places. And so the first frame, local foods. This is such a big category, but I'm planting a couple seeds, and I've linked and gone a little further in detail in the text below. But that first frame of local food is thinking about and inviting the various relationships we can have, that we can research and better understand, related to who is growing local foods within that 1 to 3 mile radius. So that could be local farms, nonprofits and community organizations that are running these kind of local community shared, community owned farms with various plots. These could be farms and gardens and schools. These could be just people who have intentionally created farms on their property. These could be ranches. These could be even commercial farmers that are near you, and better understanding what they grow, how they grow it, where that food goes, who buys it, who uses it. Thinking about your local markets and grocery stores and convenience stores, and where they source their local products, and are any of them within a radius of where you live. Thinking about seeds, local seeds, people who sell seeds, who use seeds, who distribute seeds, save seeds, all the things related to seeding. Also connecting to knowing where your local farmers markets are, how they sell their produce locally, if they do, when they do. And so this is really an invitation. So it's twofold. This entire theme is twofold in not only the local foods and the local foraging invitation, but the specifics of how am I researching and inviting more awareness of what's near me. So kind of drawing in wisdom and resources and context from what's already existing outside. And then the second invitation for both of these, for both local food and for foraging, is how can I learn more to be a producer and to put more out into the ether, into my own practices in eating and relating to growing my own food, and or how can I create produce for those in my community or those who might need it. And so thinking about if you own a home or if you rent or if you have any kind of land space, even if it's just a small square in the front or even potted plants, how can I be growing and creating local food connection, invitation, right where I am. And so I apologize if you've got wind. I'm realizing the lighting isn't great either, but here we are. So though that's kind of the general information. Again, I'm linking some things below, but it's thinking about how can I, with my own space, whatever that is, be an offering of local food. There's a great program in Denver that I don't know if it's still around, but it's called Produce for Pantries. So people would grow food in their front yard, and or an area that they share, and or on the property of someone who isn't growing, asking someone, hey, do you mind if I grow some local food on your front door or on your front lawn? Kind of reaching into those community conversations and sharing networks, frameworks. And then that produce, most of it, all of it, would go to a local pantry that is available for people in transition or people that are in need of fresh foods. So filtering, how can I be a producer and an offer? How can the space that I occupy, and even just in small ways, start with one pot or start with a couple seeds of squash, like simple. Don't feel like you need to dive and become an expert in all this. Just start somewhere. And if you're already kind of doing it, maybe go a little bit deeper, be a little more intentional. Create some signage for people who are walking by to just take what you need. And then the flip side of that is really having and connecting to resources and kind of increasing your knowledge bank around what is within a 1 to 3 mile radius of where I live that is growing locally. How can I support them? How can I be an advocate for them? How can I sign up personally or encourage others to sign up for a CSA, community supported agriculture, where I'm getting a box of vegetables and fruits delivered and dropped off, or I pick them up every week, every other week, especially in the harvest season. So that's the first frame. So the second frame is foraging, and that's related to, again, connected to a lot of that related. It's not necessarily exclusive to local foods, but I specifically think about the relationship that we have to everyday plants that grow right where we are. And so thinking about how we increase our knowledge bank, our knowledge awareness, our connection to what we might deem or filter as weeds. But really, so many of these plants that naturally sprout up have incredible nutrients. I think about, I'm in Colorado, and every time I'm hosting walks, I make sure I point out mallow, which is this fascinating plant that has these little seeds that kind of foam in the mouth like a marshmallow, and they grow everywhere, and they can be used in salads and all kinds of things. I'm also always pointing out purslane, which is actually described as a superfood, and it grows everywhere. People are always pulling it out of their gardens, always pulling it out of the yards. And so how can those things be better? How can we go into relationship more with things that are right outside our front door? You'll notice both of the people, both Montague and Leslie, that have offered their wisdom below in these videos, note dandelions and all the things that dandelions can be used for as a way of starting this journey. So foraging in a sense where you are moving with more awareness, invitation, intention to be in relationship with what naturally grows right in our environments, that is either edible or is medicinal. And so really thinking about the medicinal qualities, purposes, uses of some of these different plants, species, ailments, these things that are so, they're here for us, that we are here for them. And so again, adding that filter of not only how can I draw in that wisdom and that information and start identifying and better understanding the plants that are growing right outside where I live, work, play, the spaces I occupy on a daily basis. But how can I then be a steward of planting, moving, educating, teaching? How can I move more information? So even like if you have a lot of purslane in your front yard, to put a little sign that says, did you know this is a superfood? And then people can start reorienting. I mean, you always want to be, as Montague and Leslie both filter, like always having the ethics and the awareness of the pulling things out from the ground and how to do that mindfully, always having a spirit of gratitude when you're in this way of relating and connecting to plants, and obviously having filters of, have pesticides been sprayed? Is this an area where dogs are lifting their legs a lot? Is this, always having those filters and having different tests. So that's why I encourage, if you're interested in going deeper into this, invest some of your resources into Montague or Leslie or both. Set up an appointment and have them alongside of you as you scan these tangible things that are growing and speaking and teaching right outside our front doors. So that is the invitation for this theme. When we think about embodied proximity, that our bodies moving and absorbing and breathing in what is growing, what is happening and moving around us, related to local foods and to plants and to foraging, but also the filter of how can I be an agent of offering and producing and creating locally right outside the spaces that I occupy. So again, if you don't own a home, you don't have a yard, it's still thinking about how can what I plant, even if it's a balcony, how can I influence my workspace to, instead of just having grass that needs water that probably isn't native, how can I influence growing things that are easy to grow, that have medicinal purposes, that might even have that might be edible, that might nourish a community in certain ways. So lots of invitation. There's so many ways this can branch out, but to me it's a really important part of how we have more embodied agency and connection. Humble, open, listening, reverent, earth-focused, human-focused, healing-focused attention and connection to what's right outside our everyday places. So peace. Check out the resources I posted below. If you've got smartphone, download the apps that can help you to start identifying plants and flowers, medicinal qualities, edible qualities, and please consider becoming a patron of Montague Connolly's A Root Awakening, and or hiring him to guide you, supporting sacred spaces, and hiring Leslie to guide you. Consider Leslie's, she has, as she notes in her video, she does a lot of work. She's got a series of different like wellness, holistic herbalism, all these different things related specifically for women. It's like a 3-part series. Check it out. Go deeper, be invited, and be open. Peace, everyone. Thanks for moving alongside.